Sometimes the Lord gives us a desire and gives us a vision and a ministry. Sometimes he doesn't.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what we would be doing, and that would freak us out or intimidate us. But it is the showing up every morning, every day to say, what is today? What am I supposed to do? And let him walk us through it. And I think that is sometimes how we are drawn to the Lord. And he draws us in those hard, desperate places when we can't.
Yeah.
We're not equipped, or we're at the end of our rope, or it's too hard. We're just devastated. Whatever it is that brings you to that dependence, it is his equipping for you to get to the next stage.
Welcome to Let's Talk About That, the podcast where we deep dive into Sunday's message and explore your questions. I'm your host, Astin Kahnk, and I'm excited to share this journey with you. Whether you're a longtime member of The Orchard or a first-time visitor, Let's Talk About That is your space to explore, reflect, and connect. Join us as we navigate the intricacies of faith, spirituality, and daily life, seeking to understand how the wisdom shared on Sundays can be applied to our modern challenges. So, grab a cup of coffee, find a comfortable space, and let's dive in together. This is Let's Talk About That, where the conversation about Sunday's message never stops. Well, welcome back to Let's Talk About That. I am so excited about this conversation we're going to have today. Our guest today attends our Live Oak location and is also the founder and co-director of His Cherished Ones, which is a family ministry with a baby rescue center located in Nakuru, Kenya. Trena, welcome to Let's Talk About That.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. So for the listener that doesn't know who you are, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Hey, my name is Trena. I'm married to Trena Mroczko. We have 2 daughters still with us that are in middle school and high school, Julia and Josie. And then we've got 2 older grown kids, both married, and 2 grandkids. We have been in Kenya. I have been there since 2007, but we are back in the U.S. for right now. We do have some needs with our daughters that are better met in America. So we landed in Live Oak by chance in 2021, a random Google search for cost-effective, family-friendly places in Florida.
Popped up.
Live Oak popped up, and I had met Eddie before in Kenya. So Pastor Eddie was my only connection, but that's why it sounded familiar.
Yeah.
And I just looked it up and we bought a house in Live Oak, Florida to be our home base.
Yes.
Kind of looking for, after my parents had passed away in Texas, where our home base was, looking for a home base near our kids in Orlando. So we landed here, and this was to be our home base to come back when we would come back for our 6 to 8 weeks a year. We just always wanted a place to land.
Yeah.
And then just first of all, with the second round of COVID in 2021, we landed here and put our kids in school for a year, went back to Kenya, and then just circumstances with our girls and needing some things here, we landed back here again this year.
I love it.
We are here this year and next year for our oldest to finish high school.
Very cool. What I love so Trena and I go way back, exactly 14 years, which is crazy. So a little bit, backstory about my experience with Trena and how kind of our friendship developed was back in 2012. I had just started attending the Orchard at the skating rink, and during announcements, Eddie mentioned, hey, we're planning a trip to Africa. And I had this great idea. I was like, and I'm going with you. So after service, I met up with Eddie and told him that I wanted to go. Tell me what I needed to do. And I do it. Well, fast forward a few months later, and we're in the city in the Jacksonville airport. And at the time of my life, I had really bad luck with luggage and with airplanes. And when I say like bad luck, meaning I had canceled flights, I had lost luggage, I had damaged luggage, you name it. Just for some reason, that just burden was on me, and I was not about it. So I jokingly told Eddie, listen, there might be a chance that everyone's luggage makes it on the trip except for mine. Again, total joke, Trena, but yeah. As you know, I land in the Nairobi airport and I'm watching all the bags get picked up. And everyone's starting to get, their first bag, their second bag, and homegirl suitcase in there. And so Eddie, I remember, came up to me, put his arm over my shoulder and was like, I don't think your luggage is going to make it. Well, little did I know that God had planned
That was the good.
That was the plan, was my luggage wasn't going to make it. So we had to kind of stay where we were landing, which just happened to be with you and kind of near the baby house. And so because my luggage was lost and stuck in the Jacksonville airport, I got to spend my entire time with you in Africa.
Well, I'm so glad for your bad luck.
No, seriously. Seriously. So it's crazy. And then I, moved to Omaha, and you and I were Facebook friends. We keep up with each other. But then we ran into each other at the night of worship. Yeah. I saw your husband, Jim. I was like, I recognize that guy from social media. And then I was like, hold the phone.
And I had no idea you were back.
No. And I had no idea you were back. And I walked by and we kind of looked at each other and you were like, Astin? Like Trena? And we hugged. And then here we are recording a podcast.
14 years.
14 years. God is so good.
It was very cool.
It was cool. Yeah. And then we caught up last week over coffee and lunch and then decided, hey, let's sit down and talk.
Yeah.
About it. So HCO, His Cherished Ones, is one of our ministry partners, and it was highlighted in our first edition of Impact Tomorrow magazine. So I would love, let me rewind a little bit. In the magazine, in the article, it talks all about His Cherished Ones, but I want to kind of hear the story that happened before the published story. So kind of how God put that burden on your heart. Yeah, really, how did you go from a kindergarten teacher in the U.S. to starting His Cherished Ones? So kind of walk us through what that process was like.
Yeah, because that article was, maybe 2-3 years ago? Yeah, the first one?
23 or 24, yeah.
Yeah. So what HCO is now looks really different than what it did 14 years ago when you were there. Yeah. And I guess we're coming to 18 years this year. Yeah. So it has taken on some different phases.
I love it.
And I did not even set out to go to do that. And so it is kind of one of these where you end up and you look back and wonder how you got here.
Yep.
Yeah. Just even in your question, talking about this was kind of this flash through history.
Yeah.
To give me a different perspective.
Yeah.
As well. So I was a kindergarten teacher in Texas.
Which I can totally see because your personality is if you're ever around Trena, you're very calm and you're happy. And I always get that that vibe. So you are perfect kindergarten teacher.
Oh, thanks.
And I also think because we're both educators that we kind of click that way too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you said a minute ago when Eddie announced that he was going to Kenya or to Africa, and you said, I'm going to go with you.
Mm-hmm.
My first story started very similarly.
Okay.
That my home church was Houston's First Baptist Church. So it was a big church.
Yeah.
I was active in the single adult ministry. And this was in my, I guess, around 30. Yeah, I was 30 years old.
Okay.
So I'd been there. I was not married. I was 30. And they announced, someone in my Sunday school class said he was going on Africa trips. It's a big missions church. They always have somebody going somewhere.
Yeah.
And our class was large, like 60 people in this one class, and a single adult ministry of 400 or 500.
Okay.
And so when somebody mentions mission trip, then our class particularly was very invested. So we would pass the plate in Sunday school, and these other young singles would pretty much fund somebody's mission trip.
Okay.
So this guy said he was going, and I said, me too. And he was like, really? I was like, well, someday. Because I know I was going to Kenya. Yeah. I've always said it.
And which is crazy because I always said the same thing too. I was like, I'm going to go to Africa. And everyone's like, yeah, right. But
Well, my mom tells the story. I was 6 years old. I don't remember this. I do remember the Sunday school teacher. I remember the class. I don't remember this instance that she says, I came out of Sunday school and said, Mom, I'm going to be a missionary in Africa when I grow up.
Stop.
And her heart sunk. And she didn't want to hear that. I don't even remember saying it, but it always stuck in her mind. She knows the time. I remember the teacher and everything. So I don't doubt her, but that stuck in her mind. I was in college and I went to Asbury University in Kentucky and was planning to do my student teaching at, ironically, Rift Valley Academy, which is where my daughter went to high school.
Wow. Okay.
And it ended up that I didn't get to do that. Mm-hmm. Subsequently, I was signed up for 4 different trips over the years from college until this time when I was 30 and heard this person. One time the U.S. Embassy was bombed and they canceled it. One time the missions pastor's wife got cancer and couldn't go. And then another time there just weren't enough people. So literally signed up for trips that always fell through. So I'd never gone. But it was not from my doing. I just had this desire. I knew I would do it.
Yeah.
So when he said, I'm going to Kenya, and I was like, me too. And he thought I meant on that trip.
Yeah.
And then he came to me, he's like, I think you are supposed to go.
Okay.
Well, it was in like the end of October, the 1st of November.
Okay.
And it was 2 weeks. That's middle of the school year.
Yeah.
And I was teaching preschool special needs at the time. You don't just do that.
Yeah.
That's in Texas. That was a testing time. So
Okay.
even though my class didn't test, you don't just take off 2 weeks during
as a
testing.
teacher, they always say save it for summer.
Exactly. No, I can't. I can't do that. Yes, you can. So several people talking. And that night we had an event and it was bowling or something we were just doing. And he came over to me and he said, I think you're supposed to go. And he sat me down and he had a check written out.
Wow.
For that amount of the trip. He pulled out a second check that was blank. And he said, this is to cover the cost of whatever your dog will pay. So I took these 2 checks to my principal and I said, I think I'm supposed to go to Kenya. And she said, I don't know. I had the 5 days that I could and you have to add some,
Yeah.
And she said, I don't know, but who am I to argue with God? Seems pretty clear.
Yeah.
And he take it and see what I can do.
Yeah.
So I ended up going on that trip. When I was there, so that was in 2006, in October of 2006. When I was there, literally driving around, I had these moments that weren't really deja vu, but it was, I've been here. It didn't feel like that out of body and a thing that passed away. It was, I feel like I've been here. And there were a few places we drove by that I really thought, I feel like I've been here.
Okay.
It took me a while later till those became some of my stomping grounds that I looked back and thought, this is where I was. So when I was there, I just had that feel.
Yeah.
I had just bought my first house as a young single woman right before that trip. And then God started working on me and I was like, I want to go back. I'm going to go back to Kenya.
Okay.
And then I
went and then you came back. Okay.
Yes. So I was back. And so in that, December, January, February, how God's working. And, right after a mission trip, it's strong.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And you just want to go back. Well, so then what's the balance of the emotional time of that versus what is God really doing?
So true. Sitting in that. Yes. And all right, God, is this your desire or is this just what? Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
A lot of people go on a mission trip and I need to do this.
Yes.
And that is great. And a lot of people do.
Yeah.
A lot is just what God has done. And it's so powerful. You want that. You want that connection.
Absolutely.
Again.
Yes. And you just see things and experience things like never before. I remember my first trip was 6 months after the earthquake in Haiti. Same exact thing. I was like, God, I want to go back. I want to go back. And then little did I know my next trip was going to be to Africa.
But yeah, exactly. You want more of it.
Yeah.
And so I was balancing all of that and just praying through things and felt, well, that's great. That's why I'm a teacher, because God gives me the summers.
Yeah.
I can go back. I didn't want to go on a mission trip. I wanted to spend time. I wanted to learn language. I wanted to understand the culture in a different way. And I thought, well, if I go in this summer and spend the whole time, that would be better. My mind goes and I'm like, but then I'm still just there for the summer. That's not really a long time to learn language or learn the culture. Maybe I could just go for a year or I could go for 2. Meanwhile, passes the backstories that I had at different times applied or wanted to go with IMB for journeyman.
Which that's the International Mission Board for anyone that doesn't know. Okay.
And God just had always said no. I always knew it was a closed door. I was never told no by anything.
You can just feel it whenever you,
Yeah. Working ahead and it just doesn't feel right. And God just, no, not now.
Yeah.
No, not now. And probably 3 different times in my 20s had I actively looked at going on the mission field with different organizations and always said, no, not now. But that was always a desire. So I was 30 at this time. I had wanted to go. And one reason I didn't go with the IMB was that as a journeyman, you're not allowed to date and start a relationship. And it's a 2-year commitment.
Okay.
So in my early 20s, and I graduated from college. I went to college, not even caring to graduate. I just assumed I would get married and have a family. And I didn't really care to go to college. So that's how I landed in education, because I think that's what most girls, that was just a default. Ended up loving it. That was my ministry, got it. But I always wanted to be married. So going with the IMB as a journeyman, I thought, I don't want to put dating on pause because then that's 2 years. And then I would come back. And then if I met someone, then I would want to date a couple of years before getting married. And then, and I'm like, then I would be like 30 before I had kids. That's where here I am 30. I'm still single and I never went. God had his plan. Many of the plans of a man, but the Lord directs his steps.
100%.
So here I am, and I had just bought my house, and I'm thinking, is this right? This is why I'm a teacher. I want to spend more time there. I have the summer. But if I went for a year, I could learn and really connect and then have a ministry to go back to every summer. How would I go for a year? I knew my principal loved me. I could get a job at the same school. When I came back, she would hold either my place or a kindergarten or something.
Yeah.
I would have that. Well, if I'm going for a year, then I have rent, I have to have somebody paying rent. And then if I'm gone and they miss, then I'm stuck with that.
Yeah.
Maybe, what if I just sell my house and I go for 2 years? Then it's a little more worth it. But I thought, that's what I need to do. And I just started moving towards that. I'd had my house a year. I put it on the market May 1st and it sold before it went active.
Wow.
I lived on a cul-de-sac. I came back 3 months after I went the first time, and none of the other houses had sold. And so God was just leading all these
You had
steps.
to put your yes on the table, and then he was like, watch me.
Yes. And one step at a time. And I remember praying before I went. And I was kind of planning with some contacts I'd made to go for that year.
Okay.
I was going to work with a group that did Baptist mission trips, and they organized that. And I had a few other little things that I was going to do and volunteer at a children's home and several things. But I was praying and just asking the Lord, if this is not right, I need you to do something big to show me and stop me, because everything was snowballing.
Yeah.
It was just working. It was happening right. And then I was just going to keep walking until I said, I need you to pull back.
Yeah.
God, if this is not supposed to happen. And I just almost audibly, as clear as you could hear without it being audible, just heard, this is my way. Walk in it. Just be.
Yeah.
And I just had this piece. I just had this vision of him reaching his hand out, walking like half a step in front of me, just right there. And we're just going and we're just doing one step at a time.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I took it from that point on, just one step at a time. So I did go. I sold my house. I went and started just working with this group that did mission trips.
Okay.
And then I was also volunteering at a children's home that did adoptions, that had infants as a baby center. Largely put that desire of what I ended up doing in my mind. But when I went, I just heard my little Southern Baptist grandma in the back of my head. And she was like, you're not just going over there to play with babies and play with children. You know that if God's taking you, then that's for the purpose.
Yeah.
And at the same time, that was actually a huge burden that God had put in my heart the first time I was there, was looking at young women. And I came into contact with some young women also working in the children's homes I was volunteering in, and the workers, and to have a conversation with a young woman and see that it felt like such a fog between their eyes when I looked. Kenyans are so hospitable, so friendly, so loving and joyful, welcoming. They want to, but to get any deeper was really hard.
Okay.
And so when I would want to explain the depth of God's love and how much your Heavenly Father loves you, it just didn't seem to land. And we just had these missing marks and just kind of missing each other. And there was no frame of reference that I could come to that connected. So we look and we talk about the Father loves his child. Yeah. And you just picture a daddy running, or the little boy running up, and daddy picks him up and lifts him in the air, and they just play. Yeah. That's not something you see there. Parents don't play and interact with their children. So that kind of love and the picture of that didn't connect.
Gotcha.
And how much the church is a bride, and God loves you as much as a husband loves a wife.
So there's a lot of concepts you really had to break down.
All I knew was that my connections and how I would describe the depth of God's love didn't connect. That how much a husband adores and cherishes his wife, and that's what draws you together. Yeah. They don't marry for the same reasons, especially 20 plus years ago. So the way I would want to be able to share the depth of your Heavenly Father's love for you and your value as a person, when I see that they become they're content to be a side wife or a second or third wife. And because that's what they think their value is.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find a frame of reference. So I wanted to sit and know the culture well enough to be able to know, how can I teach these young women that they are valued, that they are truly loved just because of who they are. And so that began my passion for even the name of the ministry, His Cherished Ones. You know, most people assume that came from babies and they're cherished. I know, but it was looking at women and being able to say, you are cherished. You're His cherished one. And so, when I was working with all these groups and mission teams that would come in, we would go to a children's home, or we would do a sports clinic or a medical clinic or a home building, whatever it was. When we were in these children's homes, I began to see that I was hearing things that didn't add up. One home that I ended up being on the board of directors of as a liaison for Houston's First Baptist Church when they were supporting it. So I was kind of the liaison so I could see what was going on the ground. They had an orphanage, a children's home with a school. Well, the director had started keeping babies in her home. And of course, I loved the baby house. And I loved going over there and being with the babies. But it was one of these things that you see on National Geographic with the flies on the face and laying in filth and kids just lined up on a dirty mattress. And it just broke my heart. And we're looking at how much money formula was. So when and how much money it cost to care for these babies, even when they weren't cared for well, versus how much was being spent. And unfortunately, even though I love the babies, we're looking at the cost-effective way. These babies are taking the majority of your money that was sent for what the original purpose was the school and children's home. And I started hearing her talk about this one, Shosho, or grandmother's coming to visit. And I started asking, well, what if we placed them in this other children's home that I volunteered with? It was amazing and had the most wonderful adoption program. And she said, well, no, this one, her auntie is a friend of mine. That's why she's here. Well, this one, what if the dad comes and the baby's not here? He'll be mad at me. And I started really, well, if they all have those, then why are they here to begin with? And that was kind of my first aha moment of what I learned later. 80% of children in children's homes in most underdeveloped and undeveloped countries have living parents. One or the other. So they're mostly abandoned. They're not orphaned.
Gotcha.
And even intentionally abandoned, even if it was done out of the goodness of what they thought was best. It is a culture that the Western church has created by developing orphanages in all of these countries. And that's what orphan care looked like to the Western church for decades, was going and building orphanages. What we learned then, fast forward, 50 years, is that best for the child? So, just as like you had the ones from this earlier podcast.
It's One More Child.
One More Child, and them talking about the foster program and moving and how they were known as Baptist Children's Homes at one point. Well, even they have shifted. And we know by research that is what's better. Well, so even at this point, so this is 2008, 9, and I'm looking at this like, well, why don't they go with their families? Well, and what can we do then so that they go with, what can we do to help put them back with those families? If you don't want to send them to another home, why can't we put them back with their families and support them so they don't end up with this group over here that we're supporting and trying to educate and feed and grow? And so that's how I began to just think, well, how can we be a little home? And yes, adoption is great. Yes, we could, if they don't have, but if they all have these relatives, what can we do to put them back? Why are they here?
What things are missing so that way they can be reunited?
Absolutely. So like common, that the dad was dead, mom died in childbirth. Dad can't afford formula. Take no such thing as daycares, especially then. Now you might find a few. They don't have daycares. Formula, astronomically expensive. They will give cow's milk direct, but then that's not good for babies. They don't know that. Who would take care of the baby so dad can work? And so what can we do? Could we keep this child for long enough until it's weaned, until it can stay with a neighbor.
Yeah.
And then go back with dad. Or this one has a show that the grandmother, well, can the grandmother keep? What does the grandmother need to be able to?
Yeah.
Or does she just need encouragement?
Mm-hmm.
Does she just, is it so easy to say, hey, you'll do a better job of feeding my kid?
Mm-hmm.
So what are those reasons?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how it was born.
Okay.
And that's when I started having this desire. Well, here's an actual need.
Yeah.
I saw a need for children to be reunited with families or placed in families so that they don't grow up in the children's homes that have become so prevalent from the Western world's orphan care approach.
Yeah.
And so what can we do for these non-orphaned that can, and the ones who are, I knew adoption was possible.
Mm-hmm.
So what can we do to just facilitate that rather than them growing? And so that's kind of how God planted that ministry. While that's happening, my heart is then like, I had a great desire to do that, partially because I wanted relationship with the caretakers.
Yeah.
That's what I was envisioning. Okay, there's the ministry I would love to be part of too.
Yeah.
So meeting the needs of what's there.
Yeah.
And I love babies, obviously. No, I was a kindergarten. I love that. That part sounded fun. But the part that I knew that God had for me in a challenging way, which had not been my passion in the past, that I knew was from him, was that desire to connect with women.
Yeah.
In a deeper way. I was not involved in women's ministry in my early 20s. That was very much where I could tell a difference between the God-directed passion in my heart versus the fun part of the baby.
Yes. And isn't it crazy whenever he puts a calling on you, he's going to equip you. You just have to sit back. So I'd love to kind of know, what did that equipping process for you look like, knowing that's something that maybe was an area God was stretching you in? So you had this desire, this burden. Yeah. What did that equipping process look like for you?
Yeah. As a kindergarten teacher, I can play with them when they're in here.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done child development. I love infants. That all came natural to me. But what does it mean then to actually, we have to find a place to get registration. What does a registration look like? Working with the government in one of the most corrupt countries.
Yeah.
How does this process happen?
Yeah.
And I just had to begin to look around and start asking. But every single bit of that was not me. I am the little kindergarten teacher. I mean, people come and they see me here and see me there and feel like there's two different people.
Okay.
Assertiveness is not. Not in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Initiative and going and figuring things out. I'm not a trailblazer. I'm not the one to do the thing. So every step was a big challenge.
Yeah.
But to me at the time, I was just doing it.
Yeah. Because like God told you, I'm there with you.
Exactly.
It's my will. Yeah.
And I didn't know what I didn't know. Until I start asking around. But as I'm doing that, it's like I just went one step. Okay, the next step, the next step. And even to be able to register as a nonprofit in America to even, start this. And my best friend was here in America doing that. And she is the business mind. But in Kenya, she had no idea. So I had to put people around me and make connections of people in my church to ask this person or ask this person of people, the ones already doing it. And as I'm doing that, one little thing would be done. Then we step to the next. And my friend that was helping me, she's like, you're just following the breadcrumbs. And that's exactly what it was, because here I am doing this when my intent was not even, this was nowhere on my radar. And so what am I doing here? How are we starting a baby center? I have no idea. Why am I doing this? And it was like, well, you look back. And it was just one little step, one step, one step. And as you're stepping into what God has, he kind of gives you the passion or the desire. But as he does that, he's going to equip with the next step. And so I don't think he never sat down with God and said, what all do I need to do? What do I need to work on? How do I need to grow?
Wouldn't it be great if you could just like, God, just give me a download right here on my computer screen so I can see what the next step is.
Kind of like you want with kids when you have kids, just that downloadable instruction book. Right.
Yep.
So yours what it is.
Like, man, I got to create it on my own.
Exactly. Here's what it is to start a baby center. Okay, I can do that. Well, even if you go to the children's department and you ask, here's what do I need? And they give you a list, you go back with everything on that list and they give you 10 more and say you don't need 5 on the list. Instead of that list that I wish he had given me, that list was the one thing on that list every day was wake up and ask me. Wake up.
That's so good.
And be there. And what do I need for this day? I need him to walk with me. And whoa, okay, we got through that day. Oh, this is what I learned this day. And so instead of it being, what do I need to be?
Yeah.
It was, I just need to be with him in the morning. That is my equipping. That is how I'm enabled to do and how he fills me to do this task that is way beyond.
Yeah.
And I think in my naivety, I do believe that I have one of my spiritual gifts is faith because he said it. I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
And people ask, how do you know that? I don't know. God said it. So
I don't believe it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
That's how I know it's a spiritual gift because it's not a question to me. And I don't question the how. I just start off, okay, well, the next step.
Yeah.
The next step. And then, fast forward to, years later, then you're there and you see this is already in place.
Yeah.
There are babies here.
Yeah.
Where God gifted us our building. We're sharing today, much like how this campus was gifted.
Yeah.
Gifted this place. And very similarly, that's how we were gifted where we are now, a place that I didn't expect to have and didn't expect to grow into. And it's much bigger. And this place where we are is beautiful. It's in Nakuru and it is in a beautiful area. And this is a huge, tall building. And standing on the back balcony of where we are, and it overlooks this big hill, a huge hillside and farm. Part of it's being used up now and people are building on it. But this huge farm, and it looks over into a crater, a huge crater. Just these acacia trees in the distance. And there used to be little thatch roof huts under them. So we don't live in anything like that. This is a real building. It looks like a normal house. So people think, you're living in Africa, a mud building. But I could see those in the distance. And I just remember one time I'm standing on top at the balcony and at the edge of this big building. It's like a 20,000 square foot building and that we've made into small cottages. And I'm standing there and I just almost had this pull back view of pulling back and like, how are we here? How did we get here? And it was that this is not what I set out. It was the complete opposite. It's like, I'm here and I can look at where God has brought me. I didn't stand way down there in that spot down the road 10 years earlier and look and say, this is what I would like, or God didn't show me. Yeah. He didn't say, this is what I want to build for you. Yeah. This is what ministry you have to do for me. Yeah. This is what we're going to do. This is how you're going to minister to my children. This is what I want to do in this community through you. There wasn't any of that. Yeah. It was, whoa, we're here and we came from there. Yeah. How did that happen? And it was just following the breadcrumbs. It was one step. Oh, this one, we'll pick this one up as we go along to then be where. And I think that's where a lot of people wonder, what is God even doing in my life? Yeah. And I think we can see a lot more in hindsight. He is working. Yeah. He is doing in our lives. He is equipping us for where we are. If he calls you to do it, he's going to equip you to do it. And the desires he gives you, the desires in your heart, he gives you those desires because they are from him. And so sometimes even our desires are that directing. Yeah. And he puts them there for a purpose. Do we have to have all the answers? No, but we have to show up every day out of sheer dependence. Yeah. And I think that's where I was. I led this ministry in the first years before my husband came to save the day because it was sheer dependence on the Lord. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to lead it. I could ask people around me and I developed a team and I built that up over time of other people who could go. They began being the ones to go to the children's department and make the connections where it wasn't me anymore, which helps because it needs to be in the hands of the nationals. And that happened, but it happened step by step. I don't think God in his sovereignty overrode my naivety of not knowing what I didn't know. Yeah. And so many missteps, but it only happened out of sheer dependence. Yeah. And I can say that, was I always intentional? Like I look back and was that me being that committed? probably not even by choice,
Yeah.
but out of desperation.
Yeah.
And I think that is sometimes how we are drawn to the Lord. And He draws us
Absolutely,
in
yes.
those hard, desperate places when we can't.
Yeah.
We're not equipped, or we're at the end of our rope, or it's too hard. We're just devastated. Whatever it is that brings you to that dependence, it is His equipping for you to get to the next stage.
Yeah.
And mine was in sheer just this 30-something young girl that thought I could just do this.
Yeah.
Or not even thinking I could do this, just do it.
Yeah. Like, all right, God, this burden you place on me. Yeah.
And had I known what I would have been freaked out if I saw
I'm sure,
what this is right now and what we're doing. And I saw that in 2007 when I landed. There's no way I would have felt competent enough to even begin.
Yeah.
And I think so sometimes the Lord gives us a desire and gives us a vision and a ministry. Sometimes He doesn't,
Yeah.
because we don't know what we would be doing, and that would freak us out or intimidate us.
Yeah.
But it is the showing up every morning, every day to say, what is today?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
And let Him walk us through it.
Yeah. Man, I love hearing, I've never heard the backstory of HCO.
One.
No,
Sorry.
No, I love it because you can see, I literally, as you were talking, I was going back to our Call to This series a couple months ago about Nehemiah, where he felt this burden and, he wept, he mourned, but he also took time to sit before he even acted. And that was kind of what you did. I think you have this, any person that goes on a mission trip, they always have this, they call it, the mission trip high, where you're like, yes, I want to keep going. And I think that's great because you see, how, I know for me, whenever I went, I would see, especially in Africa, what these people in my Western mind don't have, but they don't see that. They're thankful for just anything that they have. And so that was even something that stood with me to where I was like, oh, I want more of that. But the fact that you did have that, be like, all right, Lord, you took time to discern, is this Trena's will or is this your will for my life? And then I'm sure in that time, you were, like you said, dependent on the Lord, like, all right, God, if this is, if I'm supposed to go back to Africa, you'll pave the way. And He did.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. So now we've had over 200 babies that have come through.
Wow.
That are in, I guess, 10 different countries. We no longer do international adoptions.
Okay.
So now all in Kenya, but looking at where these children are,
Mm-hmm.
and then our staff, and looking at the lives they live. And that's a huge joy to me.
Yeah.
And knowing that, some of them have been with us, 18 years.
Yeah. It's a family.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And that is our ministry.
Mm-hmm.
And then they now are leading such amazing ministries in their communities. Yeah. And then, of course, with all the families that we connect with, that is the purpose. It's about the relationship. It's not just about, let's put babies in families. What are we doing? We're there to strengthen the families.
Yes. Yeah. Man. Thanks for sitting down with me today. So I do have one last question. If someone wanted to get more information about HCO, wanted to connect with you, wanted to see how they could partner with you, what is the best avenue for that?
Absolutely. Our website, obviously, is...
And I'll link all of this while you're talking.
HCO Family. Same thing on social media. So we do post regularly on social media. We do
seeing those videos and those babies and aunties.
Yeah. So that is, both of those are the connections for that. And then we will plan mission trips that we want to do in the next year.
Yeah.
But yes, people are welcome to come and see. And a lot of that is, we're posting it on social media and showing all of that. But my husband he's there now. He's been there we've been apart quite a while this time because he had a lot. He's the one who makes it all happen.
Gotcha.
He's the
boots on the ground for right now, getting it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When he came in and realized he's project manager is his background, and realized this kindergarten teacher had no idea what she was doing.
And you're like, thank you, Lord, for sending me Jim.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and that's the missing piece in the family ministry.
Yeah.
As our ministry is strengthening families through biblical discipleship and biblical teaching and discipleship. And that was our line that God gave me in 2009 when we registered.
Yeah.
And I went all these years of doing it as a single woman before realizing, hey, I'm not the one to lead.
Yeah.
I didn't just realize, I knew it all along. I felt totally incompetent as a single woman doing that. But it took years before God brought the final piece that then allowed us to work in families way more than just babies going to parents, but then getting in and the men and having the same desire I had for women that my husband has for men.
Again, God aligning every single step. Yeah.
And bringing it full circle to take it then into the community, as he's the community leader that can go in, and I wouldn't know how to go help a mom build a house or build a house for a mom. He can oversee that.
Yeah.
So it is. Anyway, so all of that, we share those stories on social media, on our website and blog, hcofamily.org. Yeah, and partnering with us there, that's huge. We do, our babies are there 365 days a year. They don't take a break.
Yeah.
Our care for them is very consistent. It doesn't change. Babies need formula. Even though they come in and go out to families on a regular basis, our newest, I just told Astin we got one today. He was born today or yesterday. They're picking up. So we get new tiny ones. My husband, about 2 weeks ago, picked up twins. You see those pictures on social media as well. Picked up newborn twins whose mom passed away at birth. So we have tiny ones, and then our oldest would be 3.
Yeah.
And so that's what we hope to have them in families, fostered or adopted, or reunified is our first goal.
Yeah.
And so we try to do that by the time they're 3. So those are ages. Those needs are there. They're consistent. We've done this for years, so we know what to plan, and we know what they need. But we can make that commitment, but we have to have people committing to walk alongside us financially to do that too, and to pray with us. So all of that information you can find on our website.
Awesome. Well, I'll definitely link that. Trina, man, I still can't believe 14 years ago,
I know.
we met, and here we are
circle,
still talking about HCO and truly the impact it has on me. But I also love that this is a ministry we at the Orchard get to partner with, and that you attend the Live Oak location. So again, thank you so much for just taking time to talk with me this morning. And I'll be sure to link your social medias and stuff like that to where people can connect with you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks for letting me share.
Yes. Well, thanks for listening to this episode today. We hope that, you'll take some time to dig into His Cherished Ones and just get to see all the amazing, amazing stories God is writing in Kenya. But in the meantime, have a great week, and we'll catch you next week. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Let's Talk About That. We hope it encouraged and challenged you as we continue to grow on this journey of faith and embrace community together. If you have more questions, thoughts, or feedback, we want to hear from you. Be sure to reach out to us through our social media or visit our website to stay connected. If you found today's discussion meaningful, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review. Until next time, we hope that this episode inspired you and will keep Sunday's message at the front of your mind. See you next week.